listening to the Smells Like Middle-Aged Spirit podcast.
What smells so bad?
It's strong, but you'll get used to it. Now here's your hosts, Nick Stevenson and
buddy.
Chris Clark.
Ladies and gentlemen, it is that time again. Whatever time of day it is, wherever you may be listening in the world, you have just tuned in to episode 5 of the Smells Like Middle-Aged Spirit podcast. As always, I'm Nick Stevenson. You know my man Chris Clark is in the building.
What's up, my brother?
I could not think of any more fitting guests to be our first guests than the two women we are about to introduce you to. Were it not for these ladies, this podcast would not exist. Because they are our mothers. It is my distinct pleasure, it is Chris's distinct pleasure to bring to you our lovely mothers. First, let's start with Chris's beautiful mother, fiery mother, Elizabeth Clark. How are you doing?
Great.
Alrighty, and my mother is in the building, the one and only, Eura Stevenson. How's it going, Mom?
It's going great. Great.
I'm really glad to have you guys here.
It's very exciting.
Finally. You guys have been supporting us in a major way from near and from afar. My mother's here from out of town, coming from Baltimore. Mom, what's the weather like in Baltimore right now?
It was when I left in the upper 30s.
Upper 30s. Yeah, that's like a heavy
chill.
jacket. That's a heavy jacket and earmuffs day in Houston, for sure.
And that's probably about as worse as it's going to get in Houston.
Yeah, for sure. But so the East Coast, you're holding it down over there. You're about a stone's throw from D.C., so nothing too crazy going on over there, is it?
It's a lot crazy going on over there. A lot going on.
Alrighty.
Crazy.
Yeah, we'll save that subject for another time, I guess. But no, it's good to have you guys here. We're doing our 5th episode. You guys are 2 of the people who've been supporting us through this whole thing, and it's been incredible. And I always tell when we get on the show, I have to thank everybody, because if it were not for them, we'd just be sitting here talking to ourselves.
Absolutely.
So Christopher Clark is somewhat of a celebrity, man. His sound drops have been heavily requested. We had to bring the Tarzan back. We'll get into why that Tarzan sound effect is for Chris in a little bit. But since you guys are here, our first episode, what we decided to do is we wanted to let our audience kind of get to know us. And who better to help do that than our own mothers?
There you go. That's it.
Might not have been a good idea.
We'll see. We'll find out. I've gotten pretty good at editing. So
I was just going to say, hit that edit button.
if this podcast comes out and it's only 10 minutes long, you guys will know why. So, man, I'm really excited to have everybody here, though. We have 2 parents who I think it's fair to say did things a little bit different.
Yeah. As we've discussed in previous episodes.
Yes, we have discussed that. You guys did things a little bit different. But the ironic thing is I feel like, all in all, the result was pretty much the same.
There you go.
Liz,
Results came out good.
Yeah, I can say you did a really good job. Chris is a great dude, and he's one of my best friends, and I'm proud and happy to know him. And Ma, anytime anybody compliments me on the type of person I've become, I always have to point them in your direction. The way that I grew up in our household was a little bit, I guess you would call, unorthodox. Once again, the results were still the same. Liz, if you've been listening, we talked about how in your household, Chris had a little extra freedom.
Free reign.
Yeah, a little bit of extra freedom than probably most kids would have. What I wanted to ask you, is there any exaggeration in what he's saying whatsoever? How would you assess what it was like raising kids in your home and the approach that you took?
No, he's absolutely correct. He basically had free reign as long as he didn't break the law.
Right.
And as long as he came to me with whatever was going on, I'd tell him, you tell me the truth, I can go to bat for you. You lied to me, you're on your own.
Absolutely.
And she did, man, several times.
Yeah.
I mean, there was numerous times that I would just flat ass admit, hey, I fucked up. I did something I shouldn't have, and I don't want to say there was no consequences, but the consequences were substantially less.
Yeah, because Mama had your back.
Mama was fighting for me.
To think about the amount of trust that you would have had to have had in him and he in you, because that could have went any way.
It could have. And later on in teenage years, it kind of went south a little bit, but it worked out kind of quick, and he figured it out. And The day I knew it was all worth it when he came to me as an adult and said, you know, Mama, you was right.
Yeah. That's got to be, man, I can't wait for that day.
Yeah.
If it comes.
If it comes, there you go.
It shows up eventually.
Okay. So, I mean, is that similar to how you grew up in your house? Is that where you got the idea?
Absolutely not.
Okay. So
No.
what was the difference between the way you decided to do it and how you grew up?
I didn't grow up in a family that was real loving and nurturing. My mother is today. She's absolutely the most wonderful mother in the world.
Yes.
I told Keith when we first got married that I didn't want to have children because of the way I was brought up. And I said, if we ever do, he said, the reason I picked you was because I thought you would be a good mom. Mm-hmm. And I said, if we ever do have children, I have one rule and one rule only. And he said, what? And I said, you'll never lay a hand on my children. And he's like, well, that's kind of extreme, isn't it? A little extreme. And of course, then again, when those teenager years got there, I thought, I probably should rethink this a bit.
Yeah, he probably was like, can I get a whooping limit? Like, I won't exceed this amount of whoopings, but yeah, I feel you. That's incredible. And that he recognized that you would be a good mother before ever seeing it happen. You decided, when I have kids, you know, we're going to love, we're going to nurture. I'm going to be somebody that they can come talk to. They're not going to be scared of me.
Right. And I just figured there was alternate ways to discipline, things that you could take away from them that was more important to them than ever putting your hands on them.
Okay.
I was always like, if you hit a kid, you're teaching a kid to hit.
Right.
And like I said, I came from family way back all the way to great-grandpas that all they knew how to do was, that was the first thing they did was hit.
Right.
And I have so many friends that discipline their children and spank them, and a kid deserves a spanking every once in a while. That's
right.
not, you know, I just with mine had decided that I would never put a hand on him. Now, there is a few times that Christopher at 5'12" would bow up, and I'd say, don't think for 1 second I won't put you in that wall and take out 32 of your teeth.
Right.
Just because it hasn't happened doesn't mean it won't.
Absolutely.
Expensive at all.
Yeah, so if me and Mom are looking at you guys with this puzzled look, is because I
It
can
was
say,
Smackdown City.
I can say for both of us, like, that's not how it went. I think every generation of parents, they want to do it a little bit better than their parents did.
Yes.
I can say that I know that my mother tried to take the good and the positive from her upbringing and incorporate that into how she was going to be a mother. But corporal punishment was a thing.
It was. One of the things that I think I did a little bit different from my parenting was Nick being my first kid. I did talk to him a lot more. So it wasn't just getting the corporal punishment,
Right.
but
Yeah.
we talked about things a
Yeah.
lot. And Nick, I have to say, don't let this get your head too big. He was an amazing kid. Like,
Yeah.
I didn't have a lot of problems with
Yeah.
him. I really didn't. Although he did get spanked. He
Yeah.
did get in trouble, but he was one of those kids that generally, if I gave him restrictions or said, do this or don't do that, he pretty much,
Gotcha.
he did it.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think, Mama, you laid a baseline. And I don't remember when that was, but I probably got myself a good whooping that told me, okay, I'm not doing that again. So I was one of those kids, and I talked about this with you and Maddie, like just the threat or the warning of possibly getting spanked was enough to keep me in line. And I agree with you 100%. One thing I picked up from you in the way that I parent is I wasn't just, I told myself I'm never going to spank my kids while I'm angry.
Yes.
And they're going to know why I'm doing what I'm doing and what the reason is. And there's going to be a lesson behind it. We're going to talk it out.
Yep.
And I picked that up from my mother, who I said in an earlier episode when Maddie was young, I used to talk to her about everything, probably some stuff that was too heavy.
Yeah.
I got that from my mother. I mean, we used to talk about everything, but it prepared me, you know, being able to have communication, not just with my mother, but with other people. It's
of course.
probably why I'm this comfortable sitting in front of a microphone, because we talk all the
We talked
time.
about everything.
Yeah.
And another thing another reason why I think about that now, I didn't at the time, but I was 19 when Nick was born.
Yes.
And so we sort of grew up together.
Yeah.
I went to high school twice. As a matter of fact. Yeah,
We really did. Yeah.
absolutely. And what I've learned as a parent now is you're just figuring this shit out as you go.
And dude, like we said in I think it was the 3rd episode, there's no playbook, there's no rule book, there's no guidelines to this. I mean,
there's a lot of people who like to write books and they think they have the right way.
Of course.
But you can't go by that.
No, the doctor hands them to you and says, sink or swim.
Right. And I got to give you guys credit, man. You did the very best with what you were handed. We are both extremely grateful that you guys are mothers. Talking about the difference, once again, between the two households. Like I said, my mother, she grew up in a house where there was corporal punishment, there was rules. We grew up, she is 2nd or 3rd generation of the religion that we were a part of. So there was just a lot of restriction.
Yeah.
What was kind of lacking, not maybe intentionally, was that trust factor. Mm-hmm. I think about you telling Chris, all right, whatever y'all do in this house, that's cool. Just make sure it's happening here so I can
keep an eye
make
on
sure that it doesn't get too out of hand.
Yeah.
That's just, the thought of that is so foreign. It's so foreign to the both of, because we grew up where there's rules and they're written in stone and you do this and you do it this way.
Yeah.
If you go in a different direction, then there's consequences for that. Yeah. So I don't think it was intended to not have trust there, but I think that's definitely kind of what the implication is that your mom trusted you that you would figure it out.
Yeah, of course.
And the way we grew up, it was, they're not going to figure it out. We have to teach them and we have to do it this way. Like I said, mom in the past has apologized to me.
I laugh. I laugh every time I hear it.
You probably deserved every bit of it.
Now,
she's trying to get to heaven now.
I will say,
every time I hear it, I just laugh my ass off. Mama's trying to get into heaven now.
Right.
Look, because I was her first child, so she's learning as she goes.
Yeah,
and
there you go.
To you, would seem like, man, I need to whoop this boy for this, probably pales in comparison to what you later learned when you had a second child. I tell mom all the time, you know what? I don't have any regrets. I don't hold any hard feelings. Given everything that you were handed and what you passed on to me, I turned out about as good as I feel like I could have because of it.
You're right.
And so all the spankings, the ones I deserved and the ones I may not have, I'll take them because what it did is it taught me to think about consequences. It taught me to think ahead before acting. Chris, I want to ask you, did you feel a sense of responsibility a little bit to not take it too far because your mom was trusting you, or you're a young kid, so are you like, hell yeah, I can do whatever I want? I wonder if there's any part of you that's like, okay, because some kids crave that structure.
Yes.
At least that's what people say.
Yes. Yeah.
They crave, like they need the discipline. So here you kind of have free range to do with what you want. Some of your friends are probably jealous as hell. Like, how did you approach that? I mean, was there a part of you was like, okay, my mom's trusting me this much, maybe I have a responsibility to not let it get too out of hand?
Here's the way that I started to form my opinion about this, form my boundaries, form my...
How far can I go?
How far can I push it spectrum, right? 12 or 13, started getting into music. And then we started getting into skateboarding. So back then, we'd get off of school, we'd walk home, we'd be hanging out in the ditch, right? Drinking, smoking, whatever, just cigs. We came home probably 11, 12 maybe. And, dude, we had the backyard's getting ripped to shit.
Right.
They're tearing it up. And we're just like, hey, what y'all doing? Like, what's going on?
Yeah.
We're adding an addition. We're putting a sports bar. We're putting y'all a jam room. Okay. Downstairs was like a little karaoke bar. Probably, two of these kitchens?
16 by 20. Yeah.
Okay, so 16 by 20. They added a master bedroom onto the back. They added this huge addition, right?
Right.
So that made me feel like...
I've been in there. The place is dope.
Okay, we don't have to hang out in the ditch no more.
Yeah.
We can go hang out at my house with a balcony and chill and jam and skate and do whatever we want to do, right? So as this progressed, as this went on, it was all my friends would come over and be like, dude, what is this? Like, holy shit. You can go upstairs and pick your guitars up and play drums whenever you want.
Yeah.
And then we're done. And we can go chill on the back porch and hang out until whenever. Yeah. Like, everybody just mesmerized, right?
Right.
As these people started coming and going, of course, the one thing we never allowed was, like, people to come in and be punks. You weren't allowed to come in and steal shit. You weren't
Right.
allowed to come in and, you know, cause a scene or
Right.
be a dickhead. Like, if you're going to come over here, you're going to be cool. You're going to get along with everybody. We're going to hang out. We're going to have a good time. We're not fighting. We're not causing a ruckus. You're not, I mean, we weren't standing on the back porch at 2 o'clock in the morning screaming and yelling.
Right.
Doing like crazy shit. At that point, that's when I started to establish okay, maybe there's not a line drawn, but I feel this is the line that doesn't need to be crossed.
Okay.
Because nobody else lives the way we live.
Right.
Nobody. I'm talking every person that ever stepped foot into my house was just mesmerized about your parents built this for you. You're 14, right?
Right.
They did this for you. It was for all of us. It was, you know, mom and dad had a little dance bar downstairs and we had our jam room upstairs. And I'm telling you, the house was filled with teenagers Monday through Sunday. They never left.
Wow.
I mean, some of the kids stayed there. They lived there. It was, looking back on it, it was incredible. You know, I just saw it as a lifestyle. Like,
Right.
Man, you need a place to stay? I got 15 couches here. Come on.
Yeah, he drug in every stray that had parents that didn't understand them.
Right.
Mama actually got tired of hanging out 3 houses down in the ditch, watching us how that all started.
Yeah. Like y'all gonna bring this home. I got you.
Yeah.
Yeah, because it was, we're going fishing.
Yeah.
And your fishing pole is where? Yeah.
Right. So, Liz, did you see something in Chris as a small child that made you think, okay, I think he's going to be able to figure this out? Or was that just determined when you decided, hey, I'm going to have kids, it's going to be different from when I was a kid?
As a small child, Chris was always a follower, or I want to please my mom. I want to do everything I can possibly do I don't want to be bad. I don't want to get in trouble. He was great as a small child. Now, when he got to be a teenager, that was the reason animals ate their young.
Right.
But, you know, we put a pool table in and a hockey table in and a slot machine in, and the kids loved that. And every time they brought 10 or 15 friends over, we put stockings out for all their friends. And some of those kids said, we never had a stocking in our life.
Yeah.
And it was like, you know, wow.
Wow.
And we had permission from almost all the parents. There was a few strays that came in and out that you never talked to the parents. But we had a circle of friends and permission from most of the parents, knew what was going on and knew what was, you know, what they were going to do. And they were going to be there and, you know, partying like rock stars at 12 and 13 and 14 years old. But they were good kids. And we made sure only the good kids hung around.
Yeah. Yeah.
We really weeded them out. If we had kids that were disrespectful, if we had kids that were disrespectful to their friends or their girlfriends,
and that wasn't just them. That was our crew as well.
Yes.
Yeah.
Like we weren't playing those games. Like you can come here and you can drink and smoke cigs and hang out and party and have a good time, but you're never going to lose that moral compass. You're never going to differentiate from right and wrong. Like we're not playing any, you know, stupid games. You want to come over here and party and have a good time, fantastic. You're more than welcome. The only thing that is if you do drink, your keys go to bed with them.
Yep.
You're not leaving.
Yeah.
You're here. And I don't care who calls and tells me to give them to them because you're not. They would take the keys when they
once
went to
Dad
bed.
took the keys, it was over.
It was it.
It wasn't coming back going, oh,
Nope.
we had pizza, I'm good.
Nope.
You know, what
That didn't happen.
This is a crazy story, man.
I mean,
So, Chris, did you have a curfew?
not that I can remember.
Once he started driving, I had to stay. I spent all his teenage years being sneaky and trying to stay 3 steps ahead of him.
Right.
Like I'd listen at his bedroom door when he was talking on the phone. I would chalk the tires on his car where his car was parked so I'd know if he moved it or not.
Right.
Because he was just smart enough to know how to turn that odometer back. You know? That's what I thought.
Right,
you know?
right.
And so I spent so much time sneaking around trying to stay 2 steps ahead of him when he got to that age that he was going to just test the waters a little bit more here and there, you know. But it was never, like I said, when he would get himself into a fix that he didn't think he could get out of, he would come and he'd tell us.
That's good.
And we would go to bat for him if we could, or we'd tell him he really screwed up if he screwed up.
Yeah.
There was this one story that just sticks out in my head like a sore thumb, man. One thing about me growing up is I can't emphasize hate enough. I hated school.
Right.
I didn't want to be there. I didn't care about it. I didn't feel I needed it. I was 10 foot tall and bulletproof. I was dead set I was going to be a rock star. That was like my genuine idea of myself as an adult, right? Didn't care, didn't need it, didn't try. So many teachers, so many wonderful teachers that tried and tried and tried and tried and tried, and they never got through to me. I didn't care, right? And there was a gentleman in my 9th grade class. He was a social studies teacher. He has now passed on, God rest his soul. Old man. The dude should have retired 15 years ago, old. Well, when you're dealing with a bunch of 9th graders, not only 9th graders, but 9th grade punks, like, who don't care what you have to say, you know, it makes life hell on you. I was in all black, my hoodie, my Dickies pants, my audio skate shoes. I had long hair and hoodies up, right? And my hand is just like this on his desk. And of course, he's old. He said, "Mr. Clark, stand up." Can I ask why? "You're not sleeping in my class." "I wasn't sleeping, sir." "Stand up." So I stood up. He was like, "You know what? Go talk to my fire extinguisher." I wasn't trying to fight with him. I wasn't trying to cause a ruckus. Well, me being a little smart-ass kid I walked over there and I said, "What's up, fire extinguisher?" He's like, "That's it. Get out of my class." I was like, oh, my God. Okay. Well, as I'm walking out, he's like, "You know what?" This is in front of the whole class, man. I'll never forget this. He turned around and he said, "Hey, hold on. You know what you should do? You should just drop out right now. You should quit while you're ahead because you're never going to amount to anything." And I swear by that.
Let me go call my mom.
I said, I need a reason. I need to go to the office.
Yeah.
I'm not giving you an office referral. You'll enjoy that. You'll have to give me a reason. I was like, "Fuck you." Just like that in front of the whole class. He starts writing that detention slip up. I went down to the office. Fantastic principal. This dude was phenomenal at what he did. I know I shouldn't have done that, but the dude told me to drop out. The dude told me I wasn't going to amount to anything. I want my mom on the phone. And he was like, "Well, let's just. I'm like, "Dude, please, I want to call my mom." I called my mom, told her what's going on. Her school was about 10 minutes away, doing the speed limit. She got the phone call, told her boss she was leaving, and turned a 13, 14-minute drive into a 7-minute drive. She was there in 15 minutes. And, man, when she got there, she didn't talk to the principal. She said, "I don't want to talk to I want that teacher right now." And dude, I'm sitting there and like, oh fuck, man, what did I just do? And she come across that desk. She said, "That boy is 2 seconds from dropping out. If you would ever tell him to drop out or he's never going to amount to anything, it'll be you and your job. I will come after both of you." I mean, and I'm just standing there like, sure shot.
Yeah.
And she's like, "Let's go. We're leaving." And we took off, and I was like, that's right. Don't tell me I ain't going to amount to nothing.
Well, this guy would call me 3 or 4 or 5 times a week at school and say, "The boy is sleeping in my classroom." Mm-hmm. And I would say, "Sir, I get him to school every single day. He's got good attendance. You're his teacher. It's your job to make sure he doesn't sleep in your classroom. Yeah. I can't come to class with him." And this went on and on and on. And then when Chris called me and said, he just told me that I was worthless to drop out, I said, I will be right there.
Yeah. Man.
Having it. There's too many kids at risk now, and that's the problem. There's some teachers there looking to draw a paycheck, and there's some teachers there that are willing to go the whole 9 yards for these kids because they know that they're already a risk of dropping out. And back then, kids could just drop out and not have to go through all this court mess and do everything.
That was legitimately an option.
Yeah.
And I thought, you are
10th grade, you could be like, "You know what? I'm done.
Right.
See y'all later." Like, that's it. That's a wrap.
And that's
crazy.
something that a lot of teachers would say. I found out after the fact that Joshua, my other son, had been told similar things.
It's crazy.
And after he's already graduated, he's already an adult. And I'm like, why didn't you tell me that at the time?
Yeah, yeah.
You know, But apparently,
He didn't want Mama come up there.
well,
That's what it was.
it's something that happens a lot in
Yeah.
schools.
Yeah.
And so I think that nowadays there's a change, there's a shift. And I always feel like when I'm encouraging my friends, it's like we have to be advocates for our kids.
Of course.
There was a time when Nicholas was in school, if I got a call from a teacher or from some administrator, I generally kind of sided with them.
Of course.
I thought that, oh, this is an adult and you're a child.
Yeah.
That kind of mentality. But there's been a huge shift.
Yeah.
And I feel like nowadays you really have to examine it closely because there's so many people, like Liz said, that are just drawing a paycheck.
Yeah. Yeah.
And some of them, I feel, downright hate children.
They do.
Like, why are you even doing this?
Yeah.
They do.
I mean, there's stories that pop up all over the country that my jaw hits the ground.
Yeah.
Like why? Why are you spending your time doing something that you just hate? Like, it gets me.
Yeah. It does take a special type of person.
It does. I
to
mean,
be a teacher. Especially junior high kids.
That is the God's honest truth, man.
I've told Logan's principal, because we've visited her quite a few times.
Yeah.
I think she's the assistant principal. I've told her multiple times, like, God bless you for doing this job.
Yeah.
Because it wouldn't be me.
Yeah.
Like,
You're right.
I would end up fired or in jail.
Yes.
One of the two. But you're absolutely right. There's people there. It's not for everybody. It's not for everybody.
Yeah.
You know, you got me thinking about really funny Mama showing up to school stories. Because Mom, first of all, after hearing this, Mom,
Edit.
like, you have to. After hearing this, you have to think that I was just a boring child. Like, what is the worst thing that you had to deal with me? I would say probably curfew. Curfew was an issue.
Probably curfew. And,
Yes.
and honestly, I wasn't losing my mind over curfew. I lost my mind mostly over communication.
Yeah,
Like
I
I
was
would
bad
say
about
to
that.
him,
Safety.
if you're going to be, right, because if you're going to be home at 2:00 in the morning and you know that you're okay or that I'm sitting here worrying, don't just
I was too scared, bro.
not show up.
Like, I'm not gonna lie to you. I was too scared.
And honestly, I tried to, that was probably the biggest
But I wasn't
thing.
I'm a parent now, so no, I
didn't even-
understand.
It wasn't a big deal about him being late. It was just like, I need to know you're safe.
Yeah, of
Yeah.
course.
See, me, I would have a curfew of like 10 o'clock and had to make that decision around like 10:30. Like, okay, am I gonna show up an hour late, or am I gonna make this worth
Make it worth it.
right? So I remember one time I was stayed out past curfew, and even my buddies were like, "Hey man, weren't you supposed to be home like an hour ago?" I'm like, "Nah, it's cool, man." You know, and this is before cell phones, so like you have to actually pick up somebody's house phone and
So
make
then
the phone
we start
call.
to call wherever we thought he
Right.
was.
And so I'm already tripping over the fact that I'm half hour late. I'm like, oh man, I'm thinking about like, okay, what's the story going to be? What happened was there was a deer jumped out of the woods and bro, you live in the desert. There's no deer out here. Okay, hold on.
Hit it with your
was
fishing pole.
it was a coyote. Right. It was one of those situations. I'm like, bro, I'm just going to make it worth it.
Yeah.
And I'm going to get home when they're asleep. I'm going to find a way to get in the house. So, bro, it wasn't anything crazy. I wasn't out partying. Like, I was just hanging with my boys, you know?
Yeah.
We was probably kicking it with some girls we wasn't supposed to because that was a no-no when I was a kid.
Yeah.
Like, don't be hanging out with girls unless there's a grown up there. So I remember clear as day, my mother and my father were together at the time. So the street that we lived on, it was a straight shot down this street. And then it went into kind of like a half cul-de-sac where it would kind of L off onto another street.
Okay.
And my house was right at the end. So you could see my house all the way from the far end of this street. So I'm nervous as hell because it's about 3 o'clock in the morning. Okay. I'm supposed to be home at like 10.
She knows it's about to come. She already knows.
My bedroom is above the garage and there's a huge window right above the garage. I see the light on in my bedroom.
Oh God.
And they're standing in the window is the outline of my father. And he's standing there like Superman. He's got his hands on his hips. And I can see it from about the mile down this street. And I see him standing there and he's probably in his drawers. And he's waiting. He's waiting. And I was like, George, bro, turn around, man. Turn around. I'm going back to your house, man. I'm going to spend the night. Yeah. I'm like, let's go. Let's go. So we turn around. I go stay at his house. Keep in mind, I stayed in the house of another person without telling my parents.
Okay,
and
that
I was
gonna be
supposed to
that was
be
about to be my next question. Did,
Yes.
did he call and tell?
never called.
Okay.
Never
Woo.
called. I went back to George's house and went to sleep.
Whew. Okay.
Come back about 6 a.m. All my boys are with me. We stayed up probably all night, so we're dragging ass.
Yeah.
And we pull up, and I'm like, "Hey man, y'all want to come inside, get something to eat, bro?"
They
Hell
can't
no.
protect you.
Hell no.
I'm like, "Hey man, y'all want to come inside, say hi to mom and pop? Like, come on, man." And they're like, "Nah, we're good." And yeah, I'm probably like 13, 14, maybe a little bit older. Man, I got my ass chewed. I was probably still getting whooped back then.
I think we stopped.
Yeah, daddy stopped whooping me. The last time daddy whooped me, I made a point to not cry. That shit hurt like hell. That shit hurt so bad. But I was like, you know what? I'm not gonna cry. So I'm just looking at him like, and I did not let one tear come down my face.
Yeah.
And that was the last time he whooped me. But yeah, but still, that was probably my biggest issue.
It was
curfew.
Okay.
Hanging out with girls I wasn't supposed to.
Yeah.
But you know,
Nick
you
was
wouldn't.
he always loved the ladies, even when he was little.
I
He was
Yeah.
a 5-year-old. He was that 5-year-old little boy
I do.
that
I can
was
see
just
that all day
loving the
long.
ladies.
I can see that all
Yeah.
day
like-
long.
Yeah, I thought
She's
it was.
only 4,
And
Nick.
what is that little hat you wear? The
Yeah, the Trilby.
there you go.
See,
the fedora. There you go.
yeah, people thought I was conceited, and I think my mama just gave me swag, man. Like, if you look at her now,
Yeah.
I think I just got swag from my mom. But yeah, that was probably the biggest issue I gave you, and I will tell you this: like, it always bothered my conscience. Like, I felt bad about it.
Yeah. Yeah.
I did, but you know, when you're young, and like I said, you probably feel like I was super boring after hearing their stories, but it just goes to show there's not a book written on how to do it.
You're right.
And
Yep.
I guarantee you there's probably not a book written that says to do what you guys did.
Maybe you should do that. Maybe write that one.
Maybe. Hey, that's $1 million idea right there. I'll tell you what.
I don't want to be responsible for anything.
Yeah. But Liz, I told in the first, I mean, you're batting 1,000. You got 2 really good boys.
Absolutely.
Now,
Absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, they're great. Wonderful dudes. Shout out to Booba. Is he still available? Eligible bachelor? You know?
Yes.
He is.
Okay, hey, there we
He
go.
needs a cute little wife and some babies.
There we go. Wonderful dude. All you women on Facebook complaining that there ain't no good men out there.
There is.
Holla at your boy. Okay? Holla at your boy. That's awesome.
One of the first times that I realized that I really, really thought it worked was Christopher was upset with Fallon at my house, and she had gotten in trouble for something, and I don't know what it was for. And he told her to go stand by the back door that she was in timeout. And it just broke her little heart to have to stand there. And she stood there about a minute. And then he walked over to her, and he got down on his knees and looked her in the eye and explained to her what she had done and why he was upset, and make her say why she wouldn't do it again. And she understood. But to see her, she was being disciplined.
Right.
And it broke her little heart, and that's all it took.
Yeah.
And then it was over, and the whole thing took about 3 minutes total,
Yeah.
and she learned a lesson and knew that she had done wrong and knew why Daddy was upset.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's actually a really wonderful segue, because I wanted to talk to you guys about the gratification of being a parent and how it translates into being a grandparent. Because now me and Chris are trying to figure this shit out. You guys are done.
Being a grandparent's awesome. You can
You
do
guys-
whatever you want at Mimi's
Yeah,
house.
you guys are done. So now you're looking at us like, you know, you guys are watching us. But talk about, we hope that you guys feel a sense of pride when you watch us
Absolutely.
Yeah.
try to
More
figure
than you'll ever know.
try to figure this shit out as we go. But it's like I said earlier, I've tried to take the very best of what you and Dad taught me and try to filter out a little bit of the BS. And I hope my kids will do the same thing. Talk about being a grandparent and the differences between parenting versus grandparenting, because I think it's a very interesting topic that we've discussed from our point of view, but we want to hear you guys talk about it.
I think as a grandparent, it's, for me personally, watching you and watching your brother, the way you are with your kids, I learned so much. There is a total sense of awe. I think, first of all, Nick, you and Josh are two of the best fathers ever.
Thank
and
you.
I don't attribute that to any wonderful thing that I've done. I think it's just who you are as men, and it's beautiful.
Thank you.
But you should.
Oh, definitely.
That was definitely you.
Yeah.
I mean, if I'm just being honest, like what you did, what you instilled, how you raised those boys, is a spitting image of how they turned out. Like
Yeah.
the discipline and the respect that you put into both of them is the way they turned out has a lot to do with you.
Yeah.
And
Thank
mom,
you, Chris. I appreciate that.
yeah,
Absolutely.
and mom, there's been so many times that I've called you when I'm having issues with the kids or just issues, period, that you've slowed me down. And I think life and experience and wisdom, sometimes when you're a parent,
That's probably the biggest difference.
everything's going so fast.
The shift from parenting
Yeah.
to grandparenting is a more of a, well, let's step back. It's not
Yeah.
the end of the world.
Yeah,
right?
Yeah,
of course.
because when I'm ready to kill Logan, this is the woman. Logan, if you're listening to this, Mimi is the one who saves you every time. Because I'm just like, it's so overwhelming because it's the parenting, it's
Of
the
course.
job, it's the making sure you're also being a good husband, and it gets
And the fact that it's in your face right there, right now.
right,
Like
right.
you need to come up with a decision right now.
Yeah.
On how to do it.
And what mom does is she slows down, and with all due respect, not because that's what you did as a parent, but
No.
because now that you're older, more experienced, and you
Perspective.
have the perspective, you can tell me, all right, Nick, let's step back for a second. And let me try to help you understand maybe what Logan
Yeah.
is thinking, maybe what he's feeling.
Yeah.
And then by the end of the conversation, I'm like, man, I was tripping.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
But that's been the wonderful thing. Grandparents can do the same thing for their grandkids. You know, I have 2 kids who are about to be teenagers, and I hope they realize how blessed they are to have their grandparents
You're right.
in their life, because mom, your mom passed away when I was 11.
Yeah,
I
I was
believe-
30 years old.
Yeah, I was 11, I think, 10 or 11. And there's so many things that I went through as a young teenager, as a young man, that I was like, man, I wish I had my Mimi to talk to about this. Because, once again, no disrespect, things are going so fast.
Yeah.
There's a lot of things you miss. And mom, your situation was extremely unique because you also, just like I did a little bit later in your life, you came to a real moment of self-discovery when you realized the way that you had grown up, the things that you had been taught from the time you were a child, were not the way
Right,
that you were going to live your life moving forward.
right.
And
Can I ask when that was? This is a subject that really intrigues me.
for mom, it was much later in life than me. Like, me and my brother grew up
Okay.
heavily involved in that religion and way of life. But
Okay.
mom can probably tell you more about when it happened for her internally.
Okay.
I think for myself, I would say somewhere around my 40th birthday.
Okay.
I just began to see things differently.
Okay.
And there was a lot of things that I had a question about even though I was born into, and like Nick said, third generation, there were still some things that just didn't resonate with me.
Okay.
And it was at that time that I kind of began to seek my own path. And,
Okay.
and
Okay.
start to do some things differently.
Gotcha.
Yeah. And I think that probably internally started happening even sooner than that, because I was going through some things in my life as a young man at the same time that you were kind of going through some self-discovery of your own. And I don't know if you guys have ever had this dynamic, but that kind of generated some dissension between my mother and I for a little while. I felt like, man, I'm her son. I'm going through this hard stuff. Why isn't she here when I'm going through it? But she was dealing with her own bullshit.
Yeah.
Her own
Yeah.
cleansing of, if you will, because she was carrying this weight on her shoulders,
Okay.
the same weight that I had been carrying, and we were both kind of relieving it at the same time.
Okay. Okay.
And you can't get mad at somebody for not giving you something they don't have.
Of course.
Exactly.
Of course.
And mama didn't have it to give at that time.
Yeah.
And though I didn't realize that at the time, because of course, whatever's happening in your world, that's number one, right?
of course.
Oh, this is happening to me. Why is it? But then once again, time, perspective, you slow down. And I realize now, you know what? My mom was going through some shit.
Yeah.
And it wasn't, if she had it to give me, I know that she would, because my
course.
mother has always given me
Yes.
whatever she had if she
course.
could help out. And more times than I can even count. But if
Even
that's
in that time, it's interesting that you say that. I don't think I realized it until, and it's like a lot of things in life. You don't realize it in the throes and the moments of it. So I was coming up on a time of my marriage was coming to its end. I was making some self-discovery about my own individuality from a spiritual and a personal perspective. My son, like I said, who is also at a point in his life where he's kind of turning the corner. There was so much going on.
Yeah.
Now, did you tell her when you started shifting? Or did you tell him when you started shifting?
I think, you know what?
Or did
did
it just organically happen?
We had a conversation once. We were sitting at a table. I think my mom is the one who admitted it first. Like, this ain't for me.
Okay.
At that time, I wasn't like heavily involved in the church or anything. Like, I was just kind of, sometimes I was there, sometimes I wasn't. But I was kind of already doing my thing. But I do remember when mom basically sat me down. I'm going to tell you right now, I was a little bit angry in that moment.
Okay.
In that very moment.
I mean, I can understand.
And I'm going to tell you,
why.
I'll tell you why.
Okay.
Because I'm like, Mom, you're telling me at that time I was 23, 24.
Okay.
I'm like, so Mom, you're telling me everything you've taught me for 23, 24 years of how I need to live my life, how I should be living my life, what is right, what is wrong, what is good, what is bad. You're telling me right now that that's all out the window? Like, hey, sorry, it's not for me.
Yeah.
That's the only thing I gave you in this life, but it's not for me.
Yeah.
At the time, that was upsetting to me.
I can definitely see
even
that.
though, and you know, it was pride, because even though I was completely on board with what she was saying, it just made me mad. Like, why now?
Of course.
Think about all the stuff that I didn't do that I could have done if you would have decided this when I was 5.
Yeah.
When I was growing up, I loved playing sports. I wanted to play basketball. I wanted to play
course.
football. I wanted to do music. We grew up the way we were raised. That was a no-no. Because you can't serve God and do those things.
Yeah.
Your life needs to be 100% dedicated to serving your God, and that is it. Nothing extra. And don't be associating with other people who aren't doing the same thing that you're doing. So at the time, I had a lot of resentment.
Of course.
I'm like, you mean to tell me when my coaches were begging me to play football, begging me to play basketball, coaches offering to buy me new shoes, telling me that I can come live with them because if I'm breaking the rules in my house, it was crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So-
because what was your nickname as far as basketball? I mean,
I had a
don't-
lot.
Yeah.
White Mike,
White Mike.
white chocolate,
White Mike.
Slim Shady.
Yeah.
So
There was a career waiting.
yeah, I mean,
Love that. I love
yeah,
that.
dude, I can see that. I can see White Mike on a pair of shoes right now. I'm just saying. Yeah, so I felt some resentment at that time.
And that was a hard thing for me to hear from you too, because it took me a while, because I realized that everything that I had, and it wasn't that I was being a hypocrite. At the time that I taught Nicholas, or that I was sharing those things,
That was
those
all you knew.
beliefs, that was all I knew.
Of course. Yeah.
And I believed it with every fiber of my being. But it was like I started to question things. And I was like, wait a minute.
So was it just like a light bulb? Was it like a slow transition into
It was like
why this, why that?
Yeah, it was a slower transition.
Gotcha.
And then it was, it was a slow transition.
Yeah, it can't be like a flick of the switch. Imagine being in a dark room and then all of a sudden a huge bright light comes on. It's too overwhelming. You can't see anything. You're
gotcha.
confused.
Yeah.
For me, it was a gradual thing.
Okay.
And it was one of those things that I started questioning things that I never questioned before.
Yeah.
Because you would never question if grass is green.
Yeah.
Or if the sky is blue. You would never question if you're supposed to eat breakfast in the morning, lunch during the middle of the day,
Yeah,
dinner
it's
night.
what you're taught.
Because it's what you're taught.
Yeah.
It's what you do. So imagine learning that, you know what? That's not necessarily true. It doesn't have to be that way.
Yeah.
This is one perspective of many. And when you grow up the way we did, you only saw one perspective.
Yeah.
You only saw one side of the coin. And so even though I felt some resentment, I understood where she was coming from. I am very happy that as time, perspective, experience went down the line, my mother, I can easily say, is one of my very best friends, because we understand one another because we were going through those things at the same time.
And that's phenomenal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's one of the great things about having your parents there for you and you got to cherish it while you have them.
Oh,
you
of
know,
course.
and to
Yeah.
anybody who's fortunate enough to have their grandparents in their life,
Yeah.
Take advantage of that while you can,
Yeah.
because they're going to keep your parents from killing you more than likely.
That was sort of a similar situation we went through. My whole entire family was raised Catholic, very,
Okay.
very, very Catholic.
Okay.
And when me and Keith decided to get married, we were told that he could not get married in the Catholic Church because he had been married before. So he had to go through classes. We had to write a letter to the Pope. The Pope had to send him a letter saying, since he was not married in the Catholic Church before, by law, by God or whatever,
Right.
he was not really officially married.
Oh, okay.
So he got baptized Catholic. We got married in the Catholic Church. And I walked out of the church and went, I'm done being Catholic.
Right.
And so that was another decision we made together, that we were not going to baptize our boys Catholic. We were not going to raise them Catholic. We were going to wait until they decided on their own.
Absolutely.
And Chris came to us at about 12 years old and said, Mom, I want you to come to a special ceremony they're having at the church. They used to hang out at a little church. It was
Right.
it was a little church that was real friendly with the teenagers. They wanted the kind of the same aspect we had of them hanging at the house.
Having somewhere to go.
There wasn't a dress code.
We
There
want you to
wasn't-
come here dressed like you are,
Yeah.
looking like you are, hang out in our parking lot
Yep.
so that you're safe, so that you're here.
Okay.
And there was a good crew of them, a great, they had a nice little following that hung out on Wednesdays and Sundays and did that.
Yeah.
And he came to us and said, I have something I want y'all to come to. And he chose on his own to be baptized in that church.
Right.
And, and he was young. And I told Keith then, I said, we did the right thing.
Yeah.
Because that's when he chose to do it.
Absolutely.
Not because he was born and we went, oh my gosh, you're going to be Catholic.
Yeah.
What's great about that, anybody who goes to a church every Sunday or however many times a week they go, I don't have a problem with that. If that's what your service you feel like you need to do, that's great. And
do it.
I'm not anti-religion in
No,
that
of course
form.
not.
It's just for myself, I think your relationship with whomever is your higher power is an extremely personal thing.
Of course.
And I
agree.
think I just decided, you know what, I don't necessarily need to share that with anyone
Yeah.
but myself.
Of course.
And I think that's where I'm at. Mom, I believe that's kind of the similar take
Absolutely.
that you have.
Absolutely.
And to think about my mom being okay with that now blows my mind. It blows my mind.
I'm so much happier and so much more chill right now because I think, again, I'm with you. I don't want to knock anything that anyone believes.
Of course.
I think that's very personal and I'm on board with that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
But from my standpoint, I just feel like it's been a great deal of relief,
Of course.
if you will,
Of course.
and it's taken a lot of the control factor out, is to be able to live and allow other people to live as well, and not
course.
feel like, oh, I need to tell you what
Yeah.
God has told me.
Yes. Yes.
Back that up a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's just where I'm at now.
Yeah.
And
Right.
I'm able to focus on some other things now.
And that's fantastic. Self-care is so.
Yeah,
And even
it's
when
important.
when I say self-care, I mean everything. Like, your body, your mind, your personality, everything that you as a person you take care of. It's so critical
Right.
as to how you interact with other people. Is how you interact in your relationship, how you interact with your kids. Like, if you are not happy as a person, if you are miserable or you are dreading or you are stressed, like, it bleeds through you.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
And I love hearing stories with people just like, you know what?
Let it go.
It's all good, man.
Let it go.
It's
Yeah.
all good.
Yeah.
And all your positive things that you post online all the time and every morning and I can't wait to jump on Facebook and see what Chris has got going
Yeah,
on next.
yeah.
And even Jonathan, he does
That's the hype
same
gorilla.
thing.
That's it, man. That's
They
it.
post these things that you wake up and you go, wow, okay, I can do this.
Yeah.
I love hearing the stories. I love hearing, like, when people say, like, I woke up this morning and I feel fantastic. Just seeing that on Facebook makes me feel so good. I don't even know. Like I said, I have almost 5,000 friends on Facebook. I don't know that person at all, but I'm so happy for them.
Yeah.
Like, you go get it, boo boo. Like, hell yeah, go tackle this day. It excites me. Things like that really, really get me going.
Mama, do you mind talking about the relief and release that you felt when you finally were able to be honest with me and Josh about your personal choices?
Absolutely.
And about your sexuality?
Absolutely.
Okay, because we're talking about right now feeling better and feeling healthy and alive and happy. I know for a fact that before you were able to do that, you were not that.
Not at all.
And the reason I think it's an important discussion to have, because there may be other people fighting that same battle. And I do have a perspective from my side, but I just want you to talk about that release and how you felt once you were finally able to let that off of your shoulders.
Absolutely. I came to the realization, actually, I always knew my whole life that I was gay. But being brought up in a religious background, I felt like that was something that God was never going to forgive me for and never going to understand. And so it was necessary for me to conform myself into what it was that God was going to approve of and my family was going to approve of. Needless to say, that whole struggle, I have such a heartfelt place for young people. Even though I was an adult, I still struggled. But a lot of young people do things, harm themselves because they feel like they just don't know how to deal with it. And I went through that as well as a teenager. But once I got to the place where there was a lot of therapy involved, a lot of tears, a lot of anguish, I was able to finally, and I was in therapy for a while, trying to figure this thing out. I had an assignment while I was in there that really changed everything.
Okay.
Because I kept talking about God. I kept talking about God to this doctor. And I really appreciate her because she said to me, you keep talking about God, but if you were to have a conversation with God and say, God, this is who I am, what do you think God would say? And I never looked at it from that point of view.
Course.
My whole life I was really more so thinking about what people would say.
Okay, I got you.
And so she said, your assignment is to write a letter to God and see and communicate how you really feel.
Okay.
So once I did that, the next part of the assignment was for me to give a response of what I thought God would say back to me. Now, my knowledge made me feel like God would not throw me aside, wouldn't, say, well, you're not good enough and all these things. And it was sort of like a release.
Yeah, yeah.
So once we got past the God piece,
Okay.
she says to me, now I want you to choose 2 people that you love more than anything, and you need to let them know. So, of course, I chose my 2 sons.
Right.
Wow.
Do you remember when you did that, what I said to you?
I'll never forget what you said to me. Here's the release.
I'll let you tell it.
I picked up the phone and I called Nick, and it was really hard. I was clearing my throat a lot, and there's something I need to tell you. And he's like, well, what is it, Mom? What is it? Finally, I got the nerve to spit it out. And he says to me, Mom, I've already known that.
Really? Really?
For years.
And the part that hurts me is that you've gone through so much anguish by not being able to be the person that you really are.
Yeah.
If I would have known what you were going through, I would have let you know that I knew.
Yeah.
But I always figured you would tell me when you were ready in your own time. And yeah, that was a great moment. And the only thing I wanted Mom to know was like, that don't change nothing. I love you.
Yeah,
You're my mother. You brought me into this world.
Of course.
Thank God that you were able to struggle long enough for me and my brother to be born.
Yeah.
But
right
now that we're grown, we're adults. Like, it's time to be you.
Of course.
And Nick and Josh both had the same. I told them at separate times, but they had the same response, which was, "We love you. You're our mom."
Of course.
This doesn't change anything.
Yeah.
From that moment forward, it did not matter what another human being or another spirit creature thought.
Yeah.
I was free.
It's phenomenal.
I was free.
That's phenomenal.
Absolutely. That was a weight lifted off my shoulders too. His mom kept all that to herself.
It
All that
changes your
struggle, all
ability
going to
be
therapy.
a good parent.
I didn't know about any of her going to therapy and I mean, if I'd have known that that's how hard she was struggling, yeah, I definitely would have said something. But I feel like that is the moment that I was able to let go of any resentment I had about how things weren't working out in my teenage years, early adult years, because then I realized, like, man, mom's really been struggling with this. And I was able to step outside of myself and see that she had something going on. And I put myself in her shoes. Like, how would I feel if I, for the entirety of my life, could not be myself? And then I realized, you know what? She was going through some self-discovery in those moments that I felt like I needed her. And you know what? I had everything I needed. I've made it to this point, you know, and I figured things out on my own. And by not having my mom there to solve every single problem for me, that probably helped me out to taught me how to tough things out on my own.
There you go.
So, but I feel like that was the moment that everything changed for us. And
that's incredible.
What I actually kind of bound us, I feel like, on a different level.
Yeah.
Me, you, and Josh. And then, of course, with my experience with my grandkids as well.
Yeah. And that would be my message to anyone going through something similar. Your relationship with your parents, there's a lot that goes on that as a child you don't know about. And it's really easy to, once again, be caught up in what's going on with you. My message to anybody in that situation, if maybe somebody that you love, they're different, they know they're different, but you are waiting to tell them that you know, like, go ahead and let them know. Be honest with them. Don't make them go through that struggle because that is the only, I don't live with a whole lot of regrets. That's one of the very few regrets I have in my life, that I didn't just come out to my mom and say, hey, Mom, I understand. I know it doesn't matter. Like, let's move on. And so that would be the one thing that if anybody was listening in that situation, that's the advice that I would give them. So you two never had any beef? Real beef? That's cool if you didn't, man. I mean,
we did. And I'm going to keep this very...
Did you settle it in a rap battle? That's what I want to know.
Very short. Early on in this conversation, you asked me if there was ever a line that was crossed, right?
Right.
At one particular time in my life, there was. And not only did I cross it, I ran across that motherfucker guns up blazing.
At 90 miles an hour.
Yeah.
I mean, guns up blazing, son. It was no joke. It wasn't a mom can help me. It was a Chris fucked up.
Yeah.
Period. Right? The man, I'm not going to say his name because I don't know if he would approve of me saying it or not.
Yeah.
But one of my principles is God's honest truth is my savior.
Yeah.
The man did what he had to do, and I can tell it hurt him. I can tell it was very, very, very uncomfortable. It was a messy situation. They called my parents. I was expelled. And not only was I was expelled, I was no longer welcome back. I was given 3 options. I could go to a
alternative
school. I could go get homeschooled, or I could drop out and obtain a GED at a later point. So, of course, you know what my options were. Like, I'm not going to that motherfucker. Y'all are crazy.
My mom is going to homeschool me.
I'm going to get homeschooled. Guess what, buddy? Mama wasn't homeschooling me.
Yeah.
And Dad told me, you're going, Bubba. You're going.
Yeah.
Because you need it. You fucked up. Straight up. You crossed the line. And not only did you cross it, but you ran across it, guns a-blazing.
So you had to go to alternative school is what we're talking?
Yes.
Okay.
And let me tell you something, man. This whole little punk rock, Chris Clark, hell-raising bastard that everybody knew back in the day, who was just buck shit wild, who was a party animal, who was the life of the party, right?
Yeah.
Everybody came, everybody partied, everybody had a good time. Go to that place. Get you some of that. Like, find out how bad things can really get. I spent
6.5 months.
So let's say 7 months. I transitioned back second semester of my sophomore year. I transitioned back through like an ISS program. 30 days. And then I transitioned back into school. And dude, the first day of school, I didn't get dressed all nice. I didn't get all spoofed up. I wanted to see normal kids again.
Yeah.
That had colors on their shirts. That had, nobody was wearing the same pair of shoes. It was so different. And maybe one day I'll explain the whole story because it is a very personal part of my past.
And I cried every day because his dad is the one that told me I was not going to homeschool him because his dad said, this is where, and Keith doesn't stand up very much and tell me this is where we're gonna do this.
Yeah.
And this is where I've let you do it all this time.
Yep.
And you can't save him. You can't get him out of trouble. You can't bribe the teachers or give 1,000 pencils to the man that called every day and saying if the boy would just bring a pencil to school.
Right.
He had to figure it out on his own. And it saved his life.
Yeah.
It saved his life.
Dude, I'm telling you, like, I walked out of that school and I was like, never again.
Yeah.
Ever. I walked into that principal's office. I shook his hand. I said, you will never, ever, ever have a lick of trouble out of me ever again. And I swear by it.
Yeah.
I swear by it. I mean, I had my lip pierced. I had my tongue pierced. I had my ears gauged, my nose pierced, eyebrows. I took all of it out, let it all close up. I was wearing normal clothes. I was going to class. I wasn't skipping class anymore. I wasn't doing the little horse shit that everybody else was doing. And there was this one time, man, that when I say I walked a straight line, you weren't going to catch me because I wasn't doing it.
Right.
There was no fucking up.
Yeah.
I wasn't hanging out with people who was fucking up. I was walking a straight and narrow path because I never wanted to do that again. I never wanted to be in that situation ever, ever again, right?
Yeah.
Dude, 11th grade. Miss Clark, I need you to come open your car. Dog's hit on it. I said, y'all got the wrong motherfucking car. That ain't my car.
Yeah.
I promise you. The 91 Ford Explorer. No way. The principal who sent me to that alternative school was, hey, dude, you've been back 2 months. What's in the car? I said, I swear to you, there's nothing in that car.
Yeah.
I got 2 cigarettes in that car. In the glove compartment. Marlboro 72s. I'll tell you exactly where they're at. Exactly how many in the pack. My bad. Like, sorry. I totally forgot about them. He said, nope. A firearm dog hit on your car. I said, it ain't my car, man. I'm telling you.
Yeah.
It ain't mine. Here's the keys, buddy. Have fun. Well, dude, they start pulling up and putting stuff on the hood. I'm like, hey, what? I'm thinking like they're trying to get me again. I'm like, I start getting frustrated. I'm like, dude, that's no. I swear. That's not, whatever that is not mine. He's like, explain this. It was a spent 22 shell buried in 50,000 layers of gunk.
Wow.
And dude, I start laughing. You want to fucking write me a ticket for that? You fucking go ahead. Call my dad. He'll tell you exactly where that came from. Like, that's not a live round. That's what they picked up on the gunpowder residue from 15 years ago. He said, we're going to give you a ticket for the tobacco. Go back to class.
Yeah.
So,
But this principal had his back.
he did.
Him and a couple of the other teachers.
Yep.
All the way through the rest of high school. When a teacher would come and say, well, while he was in alternative school, he didn't have enough credits to pass computer class.
Yeah.
Or he didn't have enough credits to do this. Or that principal and several of those teachers said, oh, yeah, he did.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, we'll put him in this. He had a welding teacher that said, I'll vouch for him anytime.
Yep.
Yeah.
His football coaches, several of them said,
Yep.
if you could find somebody else to vouch for you, I'll vouch for you.
Yep.
And
Yeah.
they'd say, I'll vouch for you.
Yep.
Well, that's good. So, Mama Clark, was there like a time period where Chris had to earn your trust back? Because you were saying, like, obviously this was a pretty contentious time.
No, the part of this story that he's not telling you is he was scot-free in the principal's office when the other 2 boys were taking out in tie wraps. The police had them.
Oh, okay.
And he stood up and admitted that he was a part of it as well.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So
You almost got away with it.
So he would have got away with it if he'd have
Right.
sat there and kept his mouth shut. But his conscience wouldn't let him because he said, Mama, those were my friends.
Yeah.
Now, it was very hard for me because I wanted to homeschool him. I didn't want him to go to a jail. I didn't want him to be around thugs and other people. This was a place that you had to remove your shoes when you went in the bathroom.
Yeah.
You had to go to 3 different sets of shirts. You started in a white shirt. When you moved up and got your gray shirt, you got an extra dessert.
Oh,
when he
wow.
came home and said, I'm in a gray shirt now. And then when you moved up, you went into a black shirt. And they didn't pat you down before you went to the bathroom.
Yeah.
Or you didn't have to take
Yeah.
your shoes off anymore. Or you didn't. He went through all of those steps through the program and did it. And he was scared on the basketball court because
Yeah.
those were real criminals. I mean, I guess you would say right before you get to that criminal stage.
Those are the real gangsters.
And they were the ones that he was scared of.
Yeah.
He said, and Dad said the difference between this and jail is you get to come home every night now.
Yeah.
And so when he finished the program, he had gone through all 3 of his shirts. He went up all the way to the top. The other boys that went with him didn't do quite as well.
Yeah.
You know.
So you knew it worked.
But it was very hard for me because I was the mom that said, no, I want to homeschool. It was his dad that said, absolutely not. And that's what saved his life.
Yeah.
It saved his life.
Yep.
If
That
he
is
wouldn't,
awesome.
if he wouldn't have had that eye-opening experience, because like he said, at that time in his life, he was going through that mouthy stage where he thought he could get away with anything.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody knew what he was doing, you know.
Yeah.
And
It was steamrolling really quick.
it was
getting
going
amped up really quick.
Yeah.
It
And
was
then
getting to
somebody
the point.
took a 2x4 and smashed me on the head, and
Yeah.
that's what I needed.
Yeah.
You know, that's truly what I needed, and it saved my life.
Yeah.
And I was so appreciative walking back into where I was going to school. Like I was so just like
Getting that second chance.
Yeah.
man, like I'm here. Let's learn.
Yeah.
You
That's
want to teach me
interesting.
something? Let's learn. You know.
So before that happened, Chris, would you say it felt like you were invincible before that? Like
before that?
your feet didn't even touch the ground. Sounds
Yeah,
like
absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, I had so many people in my corner. You're not gonna mess with me. You're
Yeah.
not gonna get to me.
Yeah, you
Like,
can't touch me.
And as silly as that sounds, that's genuinely how I felt.
Yeah.
I mean, I had anywhere we went with 15, 20 guys. We didn't. If somebody wanted to fight, you're gonna fight one of us. You're gonna fight all of us.
Yeah.
You better have a big crew,
Yeah.
so nobody mess with us. And we didn't have a clique in high school per se. We didn't have like a tight knit group. We were cool with everybody.
Yeah.
We hung out and chilled. As long as you're a good person, as long as you're, kosher and, have a good moral compass, bring it. Like, let's hang out. Let's chill. We didn't stick to just guys who played football or just guys who skateboarded. We just were whoever.
Yeah.
So we had whoever backing us up everywhere we went. And I'm telling you, when that 2x4 hit my head, it was an eye opener, man.
Yeah.
It really was. And I was just like, I am not 10 foot tall, and I'm not fucking bulletproof. And I ain't nothing without all these people standing here behind me.
Yeah.
I mean, because when you go there, it's just you.
It's just you.
That's an incredible story, man. I didn't even know that. I'm sitting here learning like it's church over
Yeah.
here. I didn't even know that story. The awesome thing about it though, man, is your parents had your back.
They did.
And they even let you get your ass whooped a little bit
Yeah.
to teach you a
Yeah.
lesson. And as we sit here today, it's safe to say that we're living some of the best parts of our life right now.
Dude, you
we lived it.
could not have said it better.
We survived it.
Yep.
And we are here.
We're
And
here.
I'm extremely grateful.
We got the t-shirt.
Got the t-shirt.
We got
Yeah,
it, baby.
buddy.
But
We
what
got
y'all
it.
learned from us helped you along the way.
Oh, absolutely.
But what you did with it when you became adults and did on your own made you what you are today.
Yeah.
Amen.
That's true.
That's so powerful.
Yep.
Yeah.
That is very powerful.
You can have all the knowledge in the world. And we've seen examples of people who had all the resources needed,
Yeah.
but you got to take it and you got to run with it.
You're right.
And that's, you can see that on any of Chris Clark's motivational posts in the morning. He'll let you know that you got to do it first. So this has been really fun. I'm glad that we got into some deep conversation. I hope people have a better understanding of our relationship with
Yeah.
our mothers, with who our mothers are, and where anytime we get on this microphone and we start spitting some crazy shit, now y'all know who it came from.
We are not to blame for that.
Yeah. So
Only the good stuff.
the people who are loyal listeners to our show are going to enjoy the fact that we had you on and that you guys gave a little bit of perspective about who you are, who we are, and how we got here. So once again, very glad that you guys are on this Smells Like Middle-Aged Spirit podcast. Chris tells me, Liz, that you're a very big fan of the show.
I am a very big fan of this.
So would you mind possibly taking a quiz and finding out just how big of a fan you are?
Sure.
All right, I have 6 questions here. That's enough to give each of you 3 apiece. And let's play this little game called Who Knows Smells Like Middle-Aged Spirit Best? Mom, are you opposed to this at all? I know you're a very busy woman. I know you listen to multiple podcasts. When you're working, it could be mine, it could be somebody else's. I got really easy questions. If you don't know them, it's not a big deal because you'll just go back and listen. Right? Everybody go back and listen because anybody can miss anything. I'll tell you what, if your answer is wrong, you will hear this sound.
Hell no.
Hell no.
Yeah, and if it's correct, you will hear this sound. Yeah, buddy. Alrighty. I'm going to ask this question. One of you guys who knows it, answer it. And then whoever answers, the next person will get to answer the next one. Really simple. What is Chris's nickname on the show?
The gorilla. The Tarzan.
Let's
gorilla.
see. We're gonna ask
Tarzan.
We're gonna ask the judges if that's acceptable. Alrighty, buddy. Yes,
buddy.
Christopher Clark is AKA the Hype Gorilla.
Oh, hype gorilla.
And he gave himself that name. I did not come up with that. That goes to demonstrate the ferocity of how he attacks his projects and his ideas. Okay, cool. So, that being the Hype Gorilla, Mom, do you know what type of business Chris attempted to start? This was in the first episode. Do you know what business? You want me to give you multiple choice?
Yeah, give her multiple choice.
Yes, please.
Okay.
That always helps me.
Let's
out
go
in
multiple
life.
choice. Is the answer A, selling shampoo? Is it B, Mary Kay? Is it C, handmade soap?
That would be C, handmade soap.
There you go.
Alrighty.
There you go.
Yeah, buddy. Okay, very good. Yes, and as
And
we also
had soap for years. Worthless handmade soap.
everybody was washing their ass in Chris's family. For sure.
Never be too clean.
Yeah, and then until the Urban Soap Bar put him out of business.
Ooh, buddy.
So this one's gonna go to Liz. What unusual item did my niece Aliciana say her mom once put on a pizza? Do you need multiple choice?
Yes, I don't remember that one at all.
I'm sorry, and it wasn't a pizza, it was a cake.
Oh, well, see there.
I don't know why I typed pizza in these notes. It was definitely a cake. I need to listen. Okay. Aliciana said that her mother either A, put broccoli on a cake, B, anchovies on a cake, C, pickles on a cake.
I'm going to go with pickles, but I don't remember.
That is correct.
Yay!
Yeah, in episode 2, the little Thanksgiving clip, yes,
episode.
I asked her to tell me a joke, and she said once her mom made a cake and put pickles on it and warmed it up in the refrigerator. Kids say the darndest things. I'm so glad I did that because it was perfect. Like all the kids' answers were great. Okay, so now we're going to go to Mom. Do you remember what fun fact Maddie shared about herself that she said most people don't know? A, that she has curly hair. B, that she is part black. Or is it C, that she sometimes enjoys the smells of her own fart?
Just do it.
I have no idea. I feel like I heard her say something that
It had
I think
crickets
it's her,
behind it.
her curly hair.
That
It's her
is
curly hair.
correct. Yeah, buddy. I think our moms are listening, bro. What is up? All right.
Yes.
Liz, what has 2 butts and kills people?
Oh, good God. One of y'all stupid jokes from episode number 3. A quacker.
No, do you remember what has 2 butts and kills people?
No.
An assin. All right. Hey, that's the first one. That's okay. That's the first one, though.
Well, I'm sorry. I forgot that one.
No, it's okay. It's okay. Hey, we're doing good. All right, Mom. The last question goes to you. You should know this. What was Nick's favorite gift as a child? This is from the Christmas episode, and I discovered that I was pronouncing the name of this gift wrong. That's probably a really big hint.
Well, now I don't know how to say it.
Okay, you know when you're a kid and you don't pronounce things right? Okay, my mom just never corrected me.
Well, no one corrected me, so there you go.
Yeah, you can only give what you got, right?
Teddy
Ruxpin.
Rux, yes. The stupidest name for a child. So, like, there's not a child on the planet that can pronounce that name.
Yeah.
But the Teddy Ruxpin. Thank you, Stacy and Jonathan, for letting me know that and Rom, letting me know that I was pronouncing that wrong. But yes, that is the correct answer. You guys did very good.
Yeah, buddy.
You guys are paying attention. That is impressive. Very impressive. Well, Liz, Mom, thank you guys so much for sitting here and doing this.
We really appreciate it.
Absolutely.
It's been fun.
Thank you for having us.
Hashtag absolutely.
Yeah.
We're going to get it going, man. We're going to get that going.
Yeah. Is there anything that you two ladies need to let the world know before we get out of here?
We are very proud of you boys.
We appreciate that.
Absolutely. Thank you so much.
Absolutely. And I second that sentiment.
Thank you so much.
Very much appreciated.
We are very proud to be your sons. I can say that without any hesitation. It's been great to have you guys on. Once again, everyone listening, we hope you enjoyed this episode. We hope you enjoy all of our episodes. If you've been following us since September on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, we cannot thank you enough. We ask that you please continue to share our content with your friends and family. If you love them, tell them about the Smells Like Middle-Aged Spirit podcast. Not just two quality individuals, but two quality mothers who raised them. What you've just heard is hopefully what will be part 1 of a 3, possibly 4-part series of All in the Family. We are looking forward to talking to our snot-nosed little brothers in our next episode. And you'll also get to hear from the women who put up with us on a daily basis, our beautiful wives. So we're looking forward to that. Once again, we cannot thank everyone enough. This has been the Smells Like Middle-Aged Spirit podcast. For our mothers, Eura and Liz, my name's Nick Stevenson.
My name's Chris Clark. We'll see y'all next time.
You've been listening to the Smells Like Middle-Aged Spirit podcast with Nick and Chris. For more show content, follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter.